Ah, you illuminate this
What about the belief in this city?
Oh, there is only one god here in Empiria, and that is the Emperor. You have to know that this city still follows the old belief of the Empire of Dragon Killers. But Empiria is a city of disbelievers, and hardly anyone cares about clerical matters, the least the Emperor himself.
Why then doesn't one drive the priests away?
The Emperor allows us to stay as long as we remain in the temple area and respect him. Here, we are healers and advisors. We look after the poor and the sick. We are far too useful for the Emperor to displace us.
Which priests can one find here?
There are, of course, the temples of Aenir and Tiara. Arion, Shana, and Hirin also have shrines. Even Zerbo has a priest here. A group of elves preach for Elan, and a few dwarves sing for Nitoth. You see, all of the guardians are represented. There are also rumors about a secret shrine of the apostates somewhere nearby, but no one openly worships Nor or Zara.
Tell me more about the gods.
My favorite day work. About whom shall I...
Tell me more of the guardians.
They are the preservers of our world. They are the race of Aenir, who created our world. He left them behind so that they protect the world from the dark creatures, from the breath of the stars. But he barred them from changing the work of his creation. The nations were to carry their life in their own hands, be it for better or worse. Of which of the guardians shall I tell you?
Aenir.
Aenir came as a wanderer to our world, which had been transformed into a battlefield by a senseless competition between the powers of the elements. He prostrated the elements and put them under his spell. Then he created solid ground from the seething sea and sowed the seed of life thereon. But when he saw that he couldn't stay, he pulled a sharp rock from the land and stabbed it into his side. His star blood was dripping down and created the God Stones, which ever since have kept the spell on the elements. He sent for his children from over the star sea and ordered them to watch over his creation, while he was looking for rest at distant shores. But he barred them from changing his creation, because the nations should carry their life in their own hands. Then he disappeared over the star sea, and from then on, his children protected our world from all ills that may aim at us from the infinite abyss of the stars. One also calls him God the Father, the conqueror of the elements, the wayfarer over the abyss, or the god of the stars. His symbol is the eye or the hand, sometimes also a ship over the star ground.
Tiara.
Aenir spoke. Tiara, oldest of my children, your home shall be the sun pane, and your fiery dance will give light and warmth to the life without which it will wither. May you never weaken. She is the goddess of the sun and the strength, the dancing flame, the heaven's guardian, also called the golden or radiant. She gives hope, inner strength, zest for life and passion. Her symbol is the gold-blazoned dancer, the sun, and a golden circle. May warriors of the human race worship her.
Corinne.
Aenir spoke. Herein you shall be the bringer, who brings them good or evil. You shall escort the souls of the dying into the halls of death, and those of the born into the life. Sleep, death, and dream, but also fortune and health shall be your goods. May they fear and love you at the same time. Herein the rider is the bringer and also the executor of the guardians. He stands for wind and storm, for the course of time and perishability, but also for freedom. One also calls him soul-bearer, dream-bringer, sleep-bringer, or nightmare. His symbols are the lonely horseman, the sand glass, a black horse, the wolf or the falcon.
Shauna.
Aenir spoke. Shauna, my daughter, you bestow benevolence and gentleness to the world, because in home and family your steady hand will lead the way. Show them the joys of life, work, and of being together. Shauna the weaver stands for trade, family, healing, and gentleness. She is the goddess of the farmers and the workers. Just as Tiara stands for passion, Shauna stands for the steady and considerate side of love. One also calls her mother, the gracious or the gentle hand. Her symbols are the woman at the loom, the oak, a gray cat, or the pigeon.
Elan.
Aenir spoke. Daughter Elan, walk across the land and look at the power of life. Guard over the wealth of nature, the plants, and the nature of the woods. Give them the water they need for life, and be their friend and guardian. Elan, the Lonesome One, is the goddess of the elves. She stands for nature, the waters, the fog, but also for mystery and wisdom. One also calls her Fog Weaver or Rain Woman. Her symbols are the lonesome woman at the water, the yew tree, a white wolf, or the owl.
Netoth.
Aenir spoke. Netoth, your strength shall shape and harden them. You will give them the strength to survive, because this world will not be without dangers. Inside the earth, you shall form their souls in your forge, and give them courage, veracity, willpower, and strength. The dwarves sing to Netoth the Forger in their stone halls, but also many warriors of other nations call upon him, because he stands for hardship, strength, courage, and the art of war. One also calls him World Forger, the Caller, and Former, or Master of the Eternal Forge. His symbols are the armored warrior, hammer and anvil, the bear, moon silver, and steel, as well as the eagle.
Zerbo.
Aenir spoke. But there shall also be those who are weak or double-minded, and whose life is not following the path of truth. They shall also have an intercessor, and that shall be you, Zerbo. May your craftiness and adroitness be of help and example for them. Zerbo the fiddler is the god of the thieves, but also the merchant, because he stands for cleverness, deceit, and skill, and that is important in both trades. His followers also call him Prince of Rags, Juggler in the Mirror, or the Snow White Fool. His symbols are the fiddler, the swordsman, the black tomcat, the white-haired fool, or the crow.
Arion.
Aenir spoke, and finally you, Arion, shall be the keeper of their knowledge, because science, research, and magic give the nations a better future. You shall record all their knowledge and produce it in a book so that I can get to know the story of my creation at the end of time. In the past, almost all mages were followers of Arion until the Circle depraved the magic. I have the feeling that your history has already set part in his book, friend. One also calls the writer the Just, the keeper of the Archon, or the master of the one book. His symbols are the writer, Featherkey, the book with the sword, a scale, a man with a gray robe, or the raven.
Leave it at that. Tell me about the apostates.
Once they were guardians, because they are also children of Aenir, but they contempt the laws of their father. They started to change the world at their discretion, created nations and countries just as they liked it. They attempted on command and worship, but the guardians finally intervened and dispelled them from our world. Of which of the apostates shall I tell you?
Nor.
Aenir spoke. Nor, my son, you shall get the moon pane as your realm. Guard over night and sleep when Tiara has moved on. Your light will be cold, but a welcome sign to the creatures of the night. It was Nor who brought the guardian belief to our world, but he wasn't pleased with the role his father had assigned him, because the nations feared the night. He protested and tried to enforce the respect of the nations with his power. It came to a conflict between the brothers and sisters. When Zerah turned away, Nor followed him from the circle of the guardians. Zerah created the nation of the Dark Elves for Nor, which is devoted to him until the current day. For us, he stands for the moon, the night, the cold, the sleep, and the oblivion. But for the Nor King, he is the Silver Weaver, master of the Silver Sickle, the soul-seeing one. His symbols are the moon, a saber warrior, moon silver, salt water, a silver net, and the omnipresent silver spider.
Zerah.
Aenir spoke. You shall be the keeper of diversity and change, because nothing shall last forever, and change will determine the continents of this world. Your power may give colors to the flowers and diversity to the creatures. But was wrathful, because no one loved or worshipped him. He remained the uncalled god, omnipresent but unnoticed. His wrath grew so big that he began to change. The wonderful multicolored tree in which he was living turned into a distorted black claw of branches, hard as iron. He decided that the world should change according to his complacence, that it was his task to sweep away the old and to create the complacent new. Since no one wanted to worship him, he kidnapped the guises of the nations to the dark jungle of Zu and tortured and contorted them until they corresponded to his ideas. So he created the orcs and trolls. Finally, he formed the Dark Elves, as a gift for his armor brother, Nur. His last creation was the Thealdarg, a small nation of mighty creatures who were to stay behind as governors of the apostates once these were dispelled by the guardians of Io. The orcs call Zara, because that is how Ohm calls himself, the drinker of the world blood, iron root, claw, or the dark storm. His symbols are a 5-membered claw, a black root, a root-like tree without leaves, but also ion and blood.